Hey, welcome back. I'm here with Professor Gil Santos, and we're talking about journalism for the next generation.
Yes.
And Gil, I'd like to really start this second half by talking about free speech.
Oh, okay.
Because free means free.
Yes. Yeah.
And how do we balance freedom with responsibility?
Well, this is where the personal responsibility of the individual should come in, because number one, the journalist must understand, must appreciate, and realize that there is such a thing as power that comes in with the pen.
Big power.
Yeah, because he's a molder of public opinion in one sense, you know, and he also directs public policy in another sense. Now, if he's going to be responsible, what kind of a public policy, what kind of reactions, what kind of public or mob rule will you have?
Exactly.
On the other hand, you find government as saying now, hey, maybe we're giving you too much freedom, and you're not getting to be responsible. You take one case. I'll be very, very specific. Singapore says of the Philippine media, they are irresponsible because they're abusing freedom of speech. You know, the same thing is said by China. Now that is a little bit more
even stronger. Even
stronger,
stronger, yeah.
On the other hand, you find the Americans and you find the Filipinos, because the Americans and the Filipinos have the same concept of newspapering, of news, you know, as a fourth estate. And what they say is there must be freedom of speech. Why? Because freedom of expression helps rather than deters or destroys society.
Exactly, and we can take an example of this slimeball movie that was made and came to fore last week or the week before.
Yeah.
The guy who made the movie got exactly what he was expecting and what he wanted. He wanted radicals and fanatics to go out and kill people, and that's what happened.
Yes.
We lost some of our people at embassies, and I think he's probably the lowest thing, a bottom feeder, you know, the guy that did it.
Right.
But I'm not, he can't be prosecuted in the United States for that.
That's
because
right.
he has the right to make
Yeah.
a slimeball movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can't put people in jail for being a jerk. Or maybe some of us also might be there, you see. So where do we, you know, this comes out to that part of being a teacher. You're a teacher, I try to be a teacher. We try to influence the next generation not to do that kind of crap.
Well, actually, you know, what happens here, Larry, is this. You try to teach the young ones, and even our contemporaries, we try to influence them. Let's be responsible.
Responsible.
But again, responsible and sense of responsibility, strictly relative.
Oh, it is, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's personal. What may be responsible to me will not be responsible to the other guy or to the next fellow.
Right.
You know, so there is that kind of difference of personal perceptions, and that must be dealt with. Now, what is going to be the only solution is for the total mindset of the society to know what they know or they believe is right, and everybody conforms to that. That is part of culture.
And that's part of that freedoms that we enjoy.
Yes.
You know, this is one of the things I was thinking about on the radio show this morning with Harry. Is, boy, we should just, rather than all of this negativity and saying, boy, things are so bad and we have this, we should wake up, take a deep breath and say, we're really lucky because we really are free.
Yes.
We can talk on this show, we can talk on the radio, and unless, hopefully we can go outside and not be shot or put down. And we should not be. We should not be. We should have the right. But we should also have the responsibility to attack problems, but not people.
Not people, not
We
people.
should not be attacking people. We should be attacking problems. We should attack, again, problems, issues, but not beliefs.
Yes.
You can't attack a belief because you can't explain a belief, and you can't, you know, you can't criticize a belief because that's what it is. And that's why it bothers me really, really greatly, you know, because in my emails, you know, I still get lots of anti-Islam things, you know, because people send them around, they think they're funny.
That's right.
I get lots of watermelon jokes about the president of my country because some people are living 100 years in the past.
Right.
And that hurts me. It bothers me because people are attacking
People.
people.
Yeah.
And that's wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
We should be attacking issues. We should be attacking problems.
Now, how do we solve this? You can't
Yeah.
solve it overnight.
No, no.
Because of the differences
Not even in
of
2
opinion.
days.
Yes.
No, that's it.
This is because this is the differences among cultures,
Right,
among
right.
nations,
Right.
among people, because the upbringing of the individual, regardless of the nationality, will have something to do with his own culture
Sure,
and his own
absolutely.
attitude
Absolutely.
as well. So if we're looking at something else, we should now, I believe that we should be able to teach the art and science of freedom.
I think so too. You're a Filipino.
But-
I'm a Yank.
Yes.
And we can sit here and talk and agree on
Yeah.
lots of things,
That's
you know,
right.
and
Yeah.
about how to approach that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And let's teach the young ones that these are discussions. These are not personal.
No,
You know?
no.
So
no.
don't take it personally. Just take it as part of the issues and the free exchange of ideas. Because we are in a democracy, and therefore the market of ideas must be open to all. You know.
And being in a democracy, we enjoy the freedom
Yes.
that is unheard of in so many places in the world.
Would you rather not have that freedom? You know, I experienced this in 1972 when martial law was declared here.
sure, yeah, you
know.
were.
So I was acting bureau chief of the Associated Press at that time. You know, and it was a terrible thing. It was terrible. On the first 6 months, everybody thought, hey, this is great. You know, the wives were saying, there is curfew.
Yeah,
The
my husband's
husband
come
is
home.
home early.
That's-
The other side of the coin was if the husbands were in the bars or in the nightclubs, and the curfew catches up with them, they don't go out anymore.
Yeah.
So they stay the whole night inside the nightclub.
Mhm.
They just put off the lights outside.
Right,
and,
right,
and,
right.
And the fun
They figured out a way to get
inside.
around the,
That's
the
right,
problem,
yeah.
right.
So, in effect, it was a violation
Mhm.
of what should have been there.
Mhm.
But when you get governments to try and regulate, yes, I don't agree with that. What should be done is to allow the industry, to allow the newspaper people to be able to police themselves, because they are capable of policing.
And they're the ones that have to do it. They're
Yes.
the only ones that can do it, and the government cannot
That's right.
cannot do the policing of the writing. It has to be, and that's why we have different newspapers, right? We
Exactly.
have different editorial policies. And you came from AP.
Yeah.
The ones that I trust the most are still our AP.
Yeah.
Reuters does a good job, I
Yeah.
think, you know.
Yeah.
And those are the two that I read when I want to get the straight news.
Yes.
But then I read other things that, say, the Huffington Post, which will give me kind of a liberal
Yes.
viewpoint.
And a different interpretation.
And a different
yes.
interpretation
Yeah.
of the same things. And that gives me a way of saying, okay, where do I stand on this? And of course, I have my own prejudices and biases as well, just as you do, you know.
But you are able to make your own stand because you got all sides.
Sure, you
Yeah.
try to get all sides of
That's
it.
the whole-
and that's
that's the
the
whole
thing that we
point.
really
Yeah.
want to get across to people. Don't just take a single source.
That's right,
You want to
yeah.
hit
Because if
several.
you're going to allow governments, regardless of how, quote, free, unquote, they are, you see, the mere fact that they're trying to regulate speech and expression, you know, is something that's not, it's abhorrent.
It
as far as I'm concerned.
it can't be regulated because, like you say, we have in the Philippines 96 million people. You've got 96 million ways to look at things.
Exactly. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we have guidelines and
Yes.
things, but not everybody is going to feel the same way. That's why we have different newspapers. That's why we have different political parties. That's why we have different religions.
Yeah.
You know, we have lots of things
And this
in
is
the same
and this
country.
is where the modern communications and information technology comes in, because you now have, what is your total worldwide users
Total,
of the
wow,
internet
wow,
now?
wow.
You know, it's
Billions, yeah.
2.2 billion
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
You know, out of what 7 billion people. You know, and in the Philippines, how many do you have? 54 million people have access to the internet.
And how many people don't have a cell phone in the Philippines? I'm not saying how many have.
Yeah.
How many people
It's a lot
do
easier
not
to
have?
count.
It's a lot easier to count, isn't it?
Yes.
Because everybody has a cell phone.
Yes.
In fact, you have one of the companies here that is one of my heroes, my phone. They make cell phones for everybody, everywhere down to a brand new phone for $88 800
And
pesos.
in fact, you have two phones because you
Yeah,
have two
and you got
SIMs.
two, you got two SIMs,
Yeah.
and they even have TV on them,
Yes.
you know, which is, so this chance of getting the information,
Yes,
there's no excuse not to have
exactly.
the information.
Exactly.
you
And
know.
this is what I'm saying. Just simply because it's easy to get this information now, it must be planted in the minds of the people.
Mhm.
You've got to double check this information.
Well, absolutely,
Yeah.
because going with this ability to have all of this information is the ability to put out a bunch of garbage. Anybody can write a blog.
This is what I call intentional or otherwise. This is what I call dis or misinformation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or what do you have? If you have either misinformation or disinformation, you have an uninformed citizenry.
Right. Right.
And where does the citizenry go? Where does the rule of law go? Where does the society go? You'll have anarchy.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. Right. And anarchy, things don't work so well under anarchy.
No,
We've found through the years.
but there's, Larry, there's a new word now that has come out on the internet: ineptocracy. Ineptocracy, yes.
We have a lot of that, I think, you know. I hadn't heard that word, but that's a good one,
Yeah.
you know.
And they say ineptocracy means the most number of people who cannot contribute to the production are electing people who are most incompetent to lead. and therefore you have an inept setup, an incompetent setup. That's
that goes very well with an article I just read yesterday morning. And American politics is a big deal now because we're getting ready to have a presidential election. And a guy made, I was a lifelong Republican until these last few years when I've just, and this article played to exactly the same problems I had. When Ronald Reagan won the nomination to be president, he won against a person who became president later.
That's right.
He won against two people who later became leaders of the House.
Yeah.
He ran against two people who became prominent congressmen after that time. The current candidate ran against the biggest field of weirdos that I can think of,
Yeah.
I mean, a discredited former Speaker of the House. I don't even want to say what some of these people, I mean, people that couldn't even think about being President of the United States.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that the man who won is not a good, but the competition was very different to what it was 30 years ago.
I know.
There was we had better choices, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Yes, but you see, it's the freedom and the power of the people to choose.
Right.
To choose directly who they want to lead.
Well, exactly.
And they get whatever they deserve. They deserve whatever they get.
Right. They do. And
that's
one
what
of the
it is.
nice things about the fact that we do have so much access and so much time to hear these people talk is like I'm a host on one of these shows.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky because I get to talk to people like you. And most of the people that I come on are always, they're experts in whatever that they're talking about, and I get to learn, and I hope that the audience gets to learn too. But it's one of these shows when you've got a whole hour, and this is the big thing that I'd really like to blow GNN's horn here. Is we don't edit and we don't do sound bites.
Yes.
We give 50 minutes for somebody to talk.
Yeah.
If the person is full of that bull hockey, the people are going to know it by the end of the hour, aren't they? You know. And that's the wonderful thing that we can have if we have these kind of shows and this kind of exchange of information, I think.
That's right. Like what I said when I was editing and publishing a paper here, when they were asking me, a new reporter wet behind his ears says, "Sir, could you please give me a byline, so people will know me?" And I said, with this kind of story that you just gave me, I'll give you a byline so that 2,000 years from today, they'll still know how stupid you are. Hardly do people know that, again, let me repeat this, let me emphasize this. News is processed information. You cannot. First you gather.
It's not just data.
No.
It's not data.
No.
Yes.
You gather the data, you verify it, you write it, you edit it, you publish or you air it, And before you air it or before you publish it, you better make damn sure that you are correct.
Absolutely. And to go along with that, on the mechanics of it as well, learn the craft of writing.
Exactly.
Learn the
Again,
craft of writing.
the 3 C's.
The 3 C's. Learn who you're talking
Yeah.
to, know what they know, and know what you want them to know or what you want them to do. My business has been mostly in what do you want them to do, because
Yeah.
it's in advertising or you know, business writing,
Yes.
or I want them to send me some money, send me some information or whatever. What do you want them to do, or what do you want them to know, you
Yeah.
know? And if you just start with those 2 things, you're in pretty good shape. And, of course, learn the mechanics of writing.
But you know, we must also tell our audience, like any other venture, news is a business as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So you've got to keep up. The people in the news, or those who are in the production of news, not in manufacturing,
Right.
but production of news, must be innovative, must be in cadence with the times. What do the readers want? What do they need?
Right.
It's not necessarily true that what the readers want is what they really need. You see?
Oh, usually it is. It's probably not, no.
Or what they can afford.
Right,
you see.
right.
Now, unless the news people or the journalists know that, they're going to cater only to the what the people want.
What the people want.
And that's where the fun begins. That's where the trouble starts. You know.
You know, and getting down to that point, what do people need? Getting right down to the basics, the simple part. It goes down to that. What really is it that I want to say? And, you know, and what is it that I learned in this article that I'm going to be writing? What have I learned in this news that I'm passing on to other people? And what sort of effect is it going to have? I think that's important as well.
I think also the thing that we should tell our young people, and even our contemporaries, is as much as possible, don't get your bias into the story.
Boy, keeping, you know, everything turns out to be subjective somewhere along the line.
Yes.
But, yeah, not insinuating yourself into the story
Yes.
is really important.
Yeah.
Is not, I found out a long time ago, the facts can speak for themselves.
Yes.
They don't need biases from me.
Yeah.
They don't need the extra, I call them sugar words, the extra adjectives and adverbs to
embellish
on it. They don't need that.
Yeah.
The facts straight up tell the story themselves. And if you learn how to use those facts to tell a story, you're going to do pretty well, I think, in the writing business.
I was once talking with Henry Lewis, one of the founders of
Lewis,
Time.
really?
Yeah,
Really? Wow.
Time Magazine. I was a young one working for Time Magazine in this region. And they got a couple of us from Asia to go to New York for orientation, you know. And I asked him, don't you believe in objectivity? Because Time Magazine is something that is what you call group journalism.
Well, and it's very American, you know. Yeah, it's very American.
And he said, you know what he said? What? The mere fact that you stand for objectivity, you're not objective anymore. He said, and this I cannot forget. He said, young man, he said, what you should do is you stick to the truth and nothing else. That is my kind of objectivity, he said.
Well, no, but that's pretty good advice, isn't it, you know?
Yeah.
Golly, I don't know. I guess if I were going to give advice to young people, it would be just go with your nose and be cynical, as you're saying, you know. If it smells bad, it probably stinks. You know?
It's rotten.
Yeah, it is probably rotten, you know, and you've got to dig that out. Never take the first thing that somebody says as the truth or what's there. And I've been an interpreter, you know, between Japanese and English for a long time, and one of the big problems of interpreting between languages is making sure that you're saying what you want to say because nobody is ever completely fluent in a foreign language. You know, you go, and so I learned to triangulate. I try to verify things in 3 ways when I'm working, so that I'm always going to make sure that I'm conveying what the person wanted to say and getting it both ways. And maybe that would be something good for journalists too, to triangulate.
Whether we like it or
what
not,
they're wanting to do,
journalism is practiced within the context of the language that you use.
Right.
In presenting what is supposed to be processed information. or news. You see, a Filipino does not have the same view as an Indonesian,
No.
or as a Malaysian, although, or as an Indian. You know, this kind of backgrounds vary, and therefore you have this kind of interpretations, different interpretations at all. But there is something that is common to all of them. They all want to know the truth.
Everybody wants to know the truth, and that's a pretty heavy burden for a journalist, isn't it? To make sure that you're telling them the truth, and as you best know it, you know. And boy, that's another thing too. When you didn't get the right story, how do you write a retraction? You know, all of us have been there.
Oh Christ! In the wire services, if you have the wrong story, the next item on it is kill that story.
No, you know, owning up to a mistake is also another thing. You know, another thing that, as advice to young people, what I'd like to say to them, when you send something out and it's published, and when you see it, it doesn't look anything like what you wrote.
Yeah.
But you feel really bad because it's so much better.
Yeah.
and that's the thing that you're going to find in the first 10 years, probably, that you're the last guy that edits a lot of the time. You're going to get better because you're going to learn from those things. But don't cry or don't feel bad if somebody has blue lined a whole lot of the stuff that you wrote.
Listen,
think about it. Is it better? You know, is it better?
Let's tell our audience that you don't diminish your personality nor your status if you get somebody lower than your rank to read your copy. The thing to do is, does he understand it? Because this is a two-way
Can he understand?
communication.
Is he understanding what I wrote? You know, that's right.
If what I write is not understood at all, then I'm a failure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So this is the only thing.
Might be a Herbert Marcuse, you know. No, that's really true, and that's one of the things. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you changed this or you changed that or whatever." Boy, you know, writing is never done. We just run out of time and we have to let it escape. You know.
Yes.
And so it can always be improved. But you're absolutely right. I always felt like it would be good if I get 3 or 4 people to read it, and they make their comments or they make their changes, and it's always better. It's always better.
3 heads are always better than 1.
Gil, we got 30 seconds.
Okay.
Fix the world in 30 seconds.
Well, my message is simple. The commitment to truth must not be compromised, because that is our mandate, that is our duty, that's our responsibility to the people who read us. You see, they trust us, so you must not betray them. We must not betray them.
We have to be worthy of their trust.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's
so, what does that mean? We've got to keep on improving the software, and this is the software I'm referring to, not Microsoft.
Well, I'm going to keep working on it. I hope you will too. Thank you so much for being on the show, Gil. That's great. And all you folks out there, thank you once again so much for inviting us into your homes. It sure wouldn't be any fun without you. Until I see you again next week, straight ahead.